Hi, I'm Ricardo Avila.
And I'm Greg Knight.
Greg and I would like to invite you to listen to our Once in a While podcast, the PC Music Diary.
That's right. Ricardo and I chat with each other about our favorite songs around a common theme, artist, or genre, and present our personal top 5 songs on the topic.
Now, this isn't just your standard music podcast, though. We also reflect on how the songs we choose weave their way into our lives.
Yeah, it's like you're literally reading our personal diaries through the lyrics of Morrissey, Prince, Whitney Houston, and Eddie Vedder.
Well, maybe not Eddie Vedder.
What do you mean? Like when he sings, that doesn't remind you of your first pet?
So listen to PC Music Diary in the Popping Collars feed.
I miss you, Fluffy.
What comes next is far from clear. Would you rather juice and better a cold beer?
Hi, I'm Greg.
And I'm Betsy.
And this is Going on 30, a Popping Collar side project where we checkmate movies that were nominated or should have been nominated for Best Picture 30 years ago. This month, we're looking at Fresh.
Think as long as you ain't drowning, everything's all right.
New York City.
If I had me $1 million, I'd give me a Porsche 959.
Well, who cares? Because you ain't never gonna have $1 million anyway.
In a world of deep loyalties.
You get bigger, you're gonna be the man.
We're gonna put it on speed today.
Where survival means saying nothing.
That's right.
What one boy saw.
Go tell somebody you saw something.
Could have made him the next victim.
This is the second homicide you've been mixed up with in as many weeks.
I didn't see nothing.
Now what he knows is changing the power of the streets.
You just a little kid in way over his head.
You want my king. You got to come get my king.
I'ma drop him, man. I'ma go drop him.
You always trying to scare me, but I ain't scared of you no more.
Fresh. Critics call it powerful and riveting. Electrifying. And Siskel and Ebert hail 2 thumbs up. Samuel L. Jackson, Giancarlo Esposito, Nabushe Wright, and introducing Sean Nelson.
You ready for the real thing? You ready to come get it? You ready to be the king?
I ain't scared.
Not to be confused with a cannibal movie from 2022.
Yes, I was finding when I was looking things up on IMDb, I'm like, oh, there's another.
Yeah, there's a Sebastian Stan Fresh that is constantly popping up whenever I need to get stuff.
Who
for this
knew?
movie.
Who knew?
Betsy, I have a brief description of Fresh from 1994. Would you like to hear it?
I would love to hear it.
Brief description. Death and violence anger 12-year-old drug courier Fresh, who sets his rival employers against each other. The end.
The end.
Yeah, okay. I don't know if it angers him so much as it depresses him. Betsy, what is your history with the movie Fresh?
So this movie came out while I was in college, and some of the film bros were really into it. And so it was a movie like, you gotta check this out. So I think I watched it then. I don't think I saw it in the theaters. I think we might have rented it, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And it just really affected me. So like when I saw it as a movie that was released this year, it's not like a movie I've returned to and rewatched since I watched it the first time. But I was like, oh, I really would like to explore this movie again because I remember it just made an impression on me.
Yeah, this was a critical darling of 1994. I don't know. We'll get into the Sam Jackson of it all later, but like it kind of has the feeling of a movie that was sitting on a shelf for a little while. You know, I'm always suspicious whenever an actor has 2 movies that come out in the same year, and it just so happens to be the year that they were nominated for an award or their career blew up for whatever reason, that like there must have been a movie kind of sitting around with this person and they were like, oh my God, let's capitalize, you know, kind of thing.
Well, and some of the producers on Fresh are involved in Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs. I mean,
it was
there's
a
crossover
Miramax.
there.
Yeah.
But beyond the Miramax of it all, like there's some people in the producing and co-producing or whatever roles who were involved in those films.
Yeah. So I don't really have a long history with this movie. I probably have seen it once before, but it didn't really make an impression. But I do have a scorching hot take to get us started.
What's that?
David Simon stole the drug side of The Wire, the TV show, from this movie and from Boaz Yakin.
Yeah. Well, in what way?
This movie is a template for... It's basically an Omar Little origin story that's going on in this movie. It's this guy, it's this kid who is a hustler who has to figure out how he's going to survive in the drug trade in New York City. And it's basically Marlowe versus Prop Joe that he's set up like in this. And it's just like, oh, this feels very familiar to something that came out, 8 years later. All the stuff that sort of resonates in The Wire with the street level drug trade, how the fiends interact with the dealers, the hierarchy of the dealers, like all of that stuff, like that's in this movie, and it gets sort of unpacked in The Wire as well. What you're missing from this movie is like the cop side of things that you get sort of from The Wire.
I mean, like the initial interrogation of Michael after the shooting at the playground. You don't even see the cop's face, really. It's like a very Charlie Brown kind of, wah, 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 wah. And then, we give Perez some, a character, right, to be the cop that, Michael, call me, that sort of thing. Yeah, that's interesting. Because, I think if you think about like Michael B. Jordan and, kind of giving some of those, the younger runners in the situation a voice and a backstory. I mean, it's kind of like looking at the larger issue of the drug trade, but like what's happening with this minor character over here. It kind of reminds me of when you're like, oh, I'm struggling to preach on this text. It's like, what's up with this very minor character over here? Like, what's their story? And kind of exploring what that ends up looking like. I think it's for me, the thing that definitely leaves the impression is Sean Nelson's acting as a kid, and that because he is young, it is what makes him more useful in the drug trade, because no one suspects things to be on a little kid like this, or the amount of things that they trust him with on this kid. And that calm center that Sam Jackson, as his dad, tries to teach him, ends up being his asset in these very stressful rooms. And that his lack of emotional expression as a kid, especially compared to like a Chucky, or any of his other friends, his lack of emoting is also what makes him so powerful. So it's like, it's because of his age, he's powerful. He acts older than his age, and then people trust him. And it just kind of becomes this mix that if he was older, he would be just as threatening as, say, a Jake. But because he's not, that exploring that character in the story and giving them agency. And
well, Jake's prone to volatility though, right? Yes. Which is what he's able to exploit that later on in the story. I think you're right. Like it's the nonplussed look on his face, how it's like, how you don't necessarily know whose side he's on as as he starts to set these two sort of rivals against each other. I did find it fascinating that, they're the two gangs that are dealing are both dealing very different stuff.
Yes.
Like crack and heroin are not the same thing. Yeah, like
Mhm.
you're it seems
Not
like
the same
it
level.
seems like those things could exist in the same market, and be okay. Like they wouldn't necessarily go after each other.
So he had to figure out how to draw them together, which was
Right. He had to figure out how to basically get Esteban, to care, like why he should worry about like James and the crack dealing,
right.
going on. His allegiance is to his sister, to his friends and family. And so as everything's sort of going down at the, sort of towards the climax of this movie, it's hard to read him because he's sort of everyone is kind of his enemy at that point, right? So he's okay with everybody getting taken out.
Yeah. Yeah, and I find it interesting how they portray the customers differently that he's dealing with in those two streams of drugs that, when he goes to the nice woman's house, with her husband and he's getting the stuff from her and are we missing a thing and and all of that. And she's making sure to sit down in the kitchen. He's like, I'm late for school and I gotta go. And then you see the track marks on her arm, like that sort of difference with the, the douchey guys who pull up in the car or the woman who's, strung out that he hits, when he's working the street for Corky. It's like it's a story of two drug streams that are causing the slow disintegration or rapid disintegration of the community. But it's kind of the way he's operating. And he's a prodigy is kind of what you end up being pitched, I think, in this world.
Yeah.
I believe Esteban, this guy's going to be, running this one day. And maybe it was Corky that was like, you in 20 years, like you're just going to be sitting back and, or whichever one it was, just kind of portraying how his life was going to spin out, or play out, if he continued doing so well in what he's doing.
Yeah. I think we're going to have to talk about the chess playing.
Oh, of course.
Like, what is it? Theme of it all?
Yes,
like the meta narrative of the chess playing.
Where you at? If your mind is somewhere else, then pick your ass up and take it over there and keep it company. I'm not having my time wasted by some half-ass fish cake opponent today. Take the last move back. In fact, take back the last three. You're hoarding. You're playing each piece like losing it hurts. This ain't checkers. You want my king. You got to come get my king. All these other pieces are just a means to do it. Every time you make a good run at me, I just threaten your queen and back you go. You're treating her like she's the last lady on earth. Your queen is just a pawn with a lot of fancy moves, nothing more. When you see you playing a man who feels naked without his lady, use her. Jump in there and take her. Tease her, threaten her, and he won't be able to think about his game anymore. That's when you make your real move. It's good. It's better.
I will say this. I was watching this movie and it felt like all of a sudden, like the Searching for Bobby Fischer script just kind of leaked into this movie.
Is there also chess in Finding Forrester?
I don't know if there's chess in Finding Forrester, but Betsy.
I knew this was going to be. Yep. What have we got, Greg?
I have the top 5 chess as meta narratives.
There we go.
In movies.
Yes. Let's go. Let's go. Okay. Honorable mention?
This is where the game of chess.
Oh my god! Because I had kind
serves as a.
I will say I had forgotten where this was headed in the movie. I kind of didn't look at anything before I started rewatching, And then in that particular game with Dad,
Yep.
you can just watch Michael's gears are turning.
Go back 3 moves.
Go back. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see, you want that queen. You're protecting that queen too much.
That's
Okay,
right.
got it.
That's right. This is the top 5 movies where chess serves as a metaphor for what's going on in the plot.
Okay, so honorable mention.
Honorable mention is not a movie, but it's the entire television show, The Queen's Gambit, which is.
I mean, how do you keep it off the list?
You know, it's basically the entire show, right? So
Which I thought there was going to be another season of that show. I'm like, where is that show?
Yeah.
Too busy. All right, so number 5.
Number 5 is Blade Runner. The chess scene in Blade Runner, where you have basically the guy who's created the replicants playing chess with one of his creations, and the creation overcomes the designer. Yeah, it's kind of
okay, I guess so. Yeah,
a classic one.
Yeah. All right, 4.
Number 4 from the X-Men, Charles Xavier and Magneto.
Yes, playing
chess in prison.
Yes.
Why do you come here, Charles? Eternal search for hope.
That's right. Then number 3.
Searching for Bobby Fischer.
Yeah. Okay.
It's basically it's what happens when your sports reporter dad gets too competitive with a game that's not designed to be that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, number 2.
Number 2, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. It's got to be you, Harry. Not
literally.
Me. Not Hermione.
Riding on the chess pieces. Got it. Okay, then number 1.
Number 1, top 5 chess scenes as metaphors in movies. It's Ingmar Bergman's The Seventh Seal.
Yes.
Where the knight plays chess against death. Right?
Yes.
Death has come to claim his soul, and he says, hey, hang on. Let's play a game of chess first.
Yeah, hold on just a minute. Let me make some different
and by
choices.
the way, while we're playing this game, I'm just going to get up and walk away from the board periodically so that you never get a chance to kill me.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, and Sam Jackson as Michael's father, he's used sparingly. Now, how do you compare this to Boys in the Hood?
So I do not see him as sort of as world-wise as Furious. I think I think Sam Jackson plays almost like a mentor guiding role as a father, but is way more hands-off, right, than Larry Fishburne was. Yeah. Yes. And as a result, like he feels more like an old uncle than he does a father. Mm-hmm. He's one of these, Washington Square guys. That's really good, but also, probably dealing with addiction and whatever else. Chess has this thing where it's like, oh, really smart people play that. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like it's really obsessive people play this, right? Because you can learn how to hustle. You can learn strategies where you can hustle people out of money without being like a grandmaster. And I feel like that's kind of where Sam Jackson's role comes.
Well, and his strategy is what? Put the clock on him.
Right.
Put the clock on them and then they can't handle it. Put the heat on and then they don't know what to do. And I guess I hadn't really fully contemplated, you see Michael's strategies around some of the other things he says, but how do we put a clock on? How does Michael put a clock on the situation with Corky and Esteban?
Yeah, I mean that's basically what he does to Jake, right? So so Fresh, like what he does when he's busted, and he's like, oh, I've got to talk my way out of this, and he blames, the next guy up from him in the organization, talking about how he's skimming money and stuff like that. He basically puts him on his back foot in a way that he's not able to think and talk his way out of it. Jake's not able to think and talk his way out of it. Fresh is being too aggressive, and he's got a clock on him in that he's going to get shot. Jake's going to get shot really quickly, right? Unless he can answer quickly. And that's kind of the, and you know, similar situation when Esteban gets busted by the cops at the end, right? Like that ticking clock of calling the cops puts Esteban in a situation where he can't figure his way out of it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Well, and there's also so many of the situations that Michael figures out how to use to his advantage. You know, the fact that you can't call Corky, don't call him. Everything is this and that. And that, you know, over and over again doesn't backfire on him. But I do think we need to talk about the Chucky of it all.
Yeah. Well, I would just say, just really quickly to that last point, you know, the thing that Fresh has going for him is that he's been honest with everybody, right? So, like, when the drugs got loose in his bag, he took it straight to Esteban, right? Like, he's been honest to a fault with everyone, and so that's why when he starts lying, everyone believes him.
Right.
Because they have no reason.
Oh, you know, I just won a bet with blah, 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 because you showed up with that, you know. Because all the other kid runners, they are like this and that, and you're not.
That's right. That's right.
But I think in my rewatch, seeing how do we talk about the motivations of how Michael is using Chucky? Because I feel like of everything that Michael does, I mean, is this an intentional using of his friend to get what he needs? Because everybody else that we kind of take down, they're a drug dealer, they've shot people, they're not great, you know, but Chucky is your mouthy friend who just wants to be tough and big, but is a kid.
Well, here comes
you're counting on the fact that he's going to go and shoot his mouth off. You know,
well, here comes the really like hard question. Is he selling Chucky out because of what Chucky does to the dog?
Right.
Like, has Chucky like forfeited his friendship with Fresh because of the dog fighting?
Yeah.
I think that that's kind of how it reads. Is like, oh, well, screw you then. You did this to my dog, and now I have to kill my dog because you've turned him into a monster. And so now I can cut bait with you.
Is he killing the dog because Roscoe's been turned into a fighter, or is the dog being killed because he has no way to care for the dog because he lives in a house with a bunch of children?
I think it's three things. I think it's the two things.
What is the dog?
Yeah.
I think that's another question.
Okay. I think it's three things. Okay. First off, prerequisite to all of this, if you're a dog lover, holy crap, dude. Like, you may not want to watch this movie.
Yes. Here's we get our ASPCA warning, or actually more the, you know, hey, no dogs are hurt in the.
Well, no dogs were hurt, but let me show you how to string up a dog and then shoot the dog. I mean, holy
it's
cow.
tough. It's tough.
It's tough. It's tough. So it's the two things that you said. I don't think that he likes that his dog has been turned into a killing machine. This dog that he and his friend found together.
Right.
You know, I don't think he likes that. I mean, he's crestfallen when Roscoe wins the fight.
Yes.
Right. Like, he's not happy about that. Right. He's also, it's also, I can't care for this dog. That's part of it too. 3, though, you know, when he kills the dog is when he's about to set fire to both of these organizations.
Yes.
And I do think that there's a bit of this where it's like, you know what? I may be in a situation where I'm going to have to shoot somebody, and I need to be prepared for that. And this is almost like a training session for what he may have to do.
Well, and I look at it too as like this, you know, I'm going to have to cut ties with all the things that I love in this world because I'm going to leave it. And I think that's probably a part of it too.
Yeah. Okay.
So Chucky.
What's the best scene from this movie?
Well, no, I want to finish talking about Chucky.
Oh, okay.
So do you think the Chucky stuff is rooted back to the dog, and that Chucky's kind of beyond repair? But is that kind of how Michael sees him? That this kid, he's you know.
If chess is a metaphor, he sees himself as a knight that can come at people from odd angles and they don't see him coming.
Right.
That's something that Sam Jackson says. Oh, you love that piece, don't you? Right? Like,
yeah, the rook. Yeah.
I think that Chucky is a pawn. Is clearly a pawn. Where it's like, you have outlived your usefulness. I can sacrifice you and I don't have to, like, it doesn't bother me.
Mm-hmm.
Is part of it.
Until he's sitting at the chessboard at the end.
Well, so you just got to my best scene.
That's your best scene.
Which is that it does actually affect him, right? Like the whole time we're like, holy cow, this kid is a psychopath. Yeah. But he's not. He's a kid and it affects him. Like this all affects him. And that's what the ending shows us that. It's not unlike, by the way, the ending to Anora. Spoilers for Anora if you haven't seen it, but that you get this sense at the end that it has all affected her. Yes. That's what is happening to Fresh at the end of this movie. It's all affected him and he shows it.
Yeah. I think in terms of my best scenes, there's him back with Sam Jackson at the house, or at his little trailer. And, I'm also very aware that we're seeing Sam Jackson always during the day.
Mm-hmm.
We never see him at night. So I don't know what kind of drunk he is,
Yeah.
Which I thought about that. But I think one of the things I really noticed was, when Aunt Frances is having to tell Michael that he can't stay. And you watch how he is moving his leg, just like when his girl that he liked was shot on the court.
Mm-hmm.
And they both move their leg. Because I'm like, what's that noise? I'm like, it's him moving his leg in the same way in that other scene. You're like, what's that noise? It's her.
Yeah, it's that sort of rabbit, like when someone has nervous energy and they're just kind of like shaking their leg, on the floor or something. Yeah.
Yeah. That sort of, so is he on his way to death? That this is kind of that moment where he's having to make those choices. Or is he going to actually be able to pull off what he may need to go do, right? His kind of safe place with Aunt Frances has now ended.
Mm-hmm. What's the best performance from the movie?
I mean, it's got to be Sean Nelson for me.
Yo, Rosie, stop looking at me, all right? Why are you always looking at me?
Because you look at me so much, I can't help it.
So I don't look at you.
You do. You're always looking at me.
You tripping.
You drag all your friends into our cheerleading practice like it's all their idea, but you bring them so you can look at me.
You stupid tripping.
It's all right. I think it's cute. The girls always be saying, Michael got those spotty white spots on him, but I think it's cute. I do. I think it's real cute.
Damn, you been looking almost white yourself.
I am.
Damn, why you bugging out?
My mother is white.
Get out of here.
She is straight up white.
Why she never come to school then? She don't want your cousin black, right?
Why don't you live with your mother?
I do.
You live with your aunt, with Hillary and Jewel, and all them others. You can stop fronting anytime now.
Shut up.
My mother's married to a millionaire.
Word, she live with Tarlik's old man, with all their limos and
She lives in Scarsdale. She got a big house. They're as big as this whole school. You gotta go through a gate and drive through a whole forest just to get to it.
What kind of car she drive?
A sports car.
What kind of sports car?
I don't know. A Jaguar.
If I had me $1 million, I'd give me a Porsche 959.
Okay. And we'll get to this when we get to like reviews of the movie. There's a lot of like critic consensus that the kids are really good actors. I didn't feel that way. I felt that they were a little wooden. I mean, I can see it. Like he has moments, but it's almost like I can see him sort of repeating lines that he's memorized, kind of thing.
Well, and I felt that for more of the other children.
Mm-hmm.
for sure. I didn't feel as much for him because I felt like it was you could see him code switching between like being like really himself
Mm-hmm.
and then this kind of like, oh, I'm going to spout all this stuff, that like, in the way that Chucky is just rattling off lines he's heard in a movie,
Mm-hmm.
and on how you show that you're a badass, because he's got mad juice or whatever, these things that he keeps saying because he's kind of on repeat. But Michael just felt more fleshed out for me as a character.
I was into the Giancarlo Esposito performance.
Ugh, so creepy.
By the way, whenever I've seen him introduce himself on like YouTube videos and stuff, and I may have a clip of this right here, he always introduces himself as Giancarlo Esposito.
Hello, my name is Giancarlo Esposito, and today I am going undercover on the internet. Yes, it's actually me.
So I don't know where we got Esposito from. I know that that's just like what we all call him, but like, anyway, the man,
he's the Christy Teigen of this situation. We've been mispronouncing his name all this time.
Or Rihanna, right?
Yeah.
Everybody does the instead of for Rihanna.
Right.
No, yeah, I don't know. But anyway, I just thought that, here's the thing about him. The Spike movies are really what I knew him from in this era.
Yeah.
And so to sort of see him embracing this real gangster image in this unique way, I thought it was a side of him that I hadn't seen. And then it was easy for me to say, oh yeah, okay, this is where like Gus Fring, all of that scary Giancarlo stuff that we get later, like he's starting to channel it here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But you finally decided to track me down. You should have come to me right away.
I couldn't. There was police all over the house all the time. And in the street. They'd be watching me all the time. But I ain't tell them nothing. They're mad because they can't do nothing about it.
So? I heard you was took off the street today by a couple of Corky's boys. Was that who done it? Hey, it's me. Esteban, it's your main man. You tell me what's happening, and I promise ain't nothing gonna happen to you. Was it Corky's boys?
Well, and this it's another thing of why I love watching these movies from a while ago is that you get these pop-ups of people. You're like, oh my God, it's that person, in the movie. And of course, he's one of the stars, but like Jose Zuniga, who plays Lieutenant Perez, right? He is a working actor. Like he is everywhere. He was in the movie Alive, which is another one from around this time, which was a real, I'm going to believe Ethan Hawke is an Argentinian.
More cannibals. Cannibals.
Yes, right. That's right. Or Guillermo Diaz, who has found family with Scandal and all these other things. And he is a skinny little actor in this as one of the kind of Esteban henchmen and that sort of thing. So it's always fun to kind of run into these other people who are either children in a movie or whatever in a movie, that sort of thing. So.
By the way, Giancarlo Esposito has 2 six-packs on his stomach in this movie.
It's a case.
Dang.
It's a case. It is a case.
It is just muscles on top of muscles on top of muscles. It's crazy.
For real. But Sean Nelson's still working, still out there.
Yeah, he was in like one of the Power series on Stars or something like that I saw. Yeah.
Well, he was also in The Corner.
Well, there you go. See, David Simon did steal this story.
Stole it.
When did Homicide come out? 93? 92? Yeah. But Homicide wasn't about the drug trade. That's what I'm saying. David Simon stole this. But
I also drug trades there's a commonality among them, and they also kind of set up these kind of power play dynamics.
I have some stats about the movie.
Stats.
Fresh opened on August 19th, 1994. One of those late summer. That's about right.
Yeah.
Whenever we talk about independent black cinema or black comedies or something like that, it's always late summer. Like I vividly remember going to see Friday in the late summer, window and stuff. Yeah. This Day in 90210.
Dun-na-na-na, dun-na-na-na, shh.
We've arrived at season 5, episode 1, entitled, and I may have to figure out where I'm finding these episode descriptions because sometimes they're in French, and I don't think that they're always supposed to be titled in French.
French?
Yeah. This one is titled Affaire de famille et vacances d'été.
That's a lot. Are they in France?
Affaire de famille. So that's
a family
family affairs and summer vacation is the rest of it, right? So
okay.
I don't think that, like, I feel like sometimes these give us the French title instead of the English title. So
interesting.
Plot description: Brandon and Kelly try to keep their relationship a secret. Steve returns from Hawaii. Donna tells Kelly she is over David. And Dylan's bad habits resurface. That's the drink. And that means that he's drinking again.
That's he's drinking again. But no mention of vacationing in the south of France.
No. This is season 5, so I think Brenda is gone at this point. I think.
Yes. Well, it was our last episode. I think it was very.
I will say, so Dylan's bad habits resurface. I think that this is where we start getting into the Dylan with the Noxima girl plot.
Right.
Where she dies in the car.
With her mom.
They're trying to kill his dad. Yeah. Anyway, if all of a sudden I'm reading these plot descriptions and I start using the term Noxima girl, you'll know.
That's what we're talking. We're talking about Rebecca Gayheart. I do believe, right?
But all 90s teenagers knew her as Noxima girl because she was
before
in every
she
Noxima commercial.
Married to McSteamy, who she's now divorced from on Grey's Anatomy.
I think she was in like Urban Legend. She was in one of those 90s movies. Yeah,
you're right. Something like that.
Okay, Fresh had a domestic gross of $8 million. Making it the number 117th grossing movie of 1994. It is the number 5,815th top grossing movie of all time. And Betsy, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to have to get out the IMDb.
Okay, all right. I'm opening it up now. All right.
Go ahead and fire it up.
Ready.
You are not going to know these movies.
Okay.
Top grossing movie of all time between Shoot the Moon. Shoot the Moon. From the 1980s with Diane Keaton
and Albert Finney.
1982.
A mother of 4 is abandoned by her husband for a younger woman. Husband, wife, and children struggle to survive the seemingly inevitable divorce. Sounds real cheery. Yep.
And then you get Fresh. And then on the other side of Fresh is a movie from 2017 called Bella. Bella. Oh, wait, it's from 2007. My bad. 2007.
Bella, 2006.
There we go.
A chef with a mysterious past spends the day with a waitress who needs a friend.
All right. So you get Shoot the Moon, Albert Finney, Diane Keaton divorce drama.
Which also has from Growing Pains, Tracy Gold, and then from Family Ties, Tina Yothers.
Oh my God, that would be a young
They
Tina.
play sisters in this movie. Because the kids are all in the movie.
Wow.
With the family going through the divorce.
Young Tina Yothers.
Young, really young.
Wow. So you get Shoot the Moon, you get Fresh, and you get Bella, the story of a chef and a waitress.
Oh,
Flirt, Marry, Kill.
this is hard. It's hard when you have like no real feelings about two of the three. So I think maybe I'm gonna flirt with the Waitress movie.
Okay.
The people in it seem attractive and interesting. There's stuff
Sure.
going on. Sure. I'll marry Fresh, and then I'll have to kill Shoot the Moon.
You'll have to shoot the moon.
I'm gonna shoot the moon with Shoot the Moon.
Yeah, that's my answer too. Although I was sort of half-hearted on it. I don't think that I could marry Fresh. Like I think that this is a movie I could watch once and be done with.
I know.
But I'm just not sold on the other two. So yeah, so I'm with you.
It is really making me want to go back and watch The Corner, just because he plays the son in that too. Sean Nelson does, like, to kind of see an aged
Tour de force performance from Candy Alexander.
Oh, so good.
Very good. Fresh has an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes. And Roger Ebert. Betsy, what do you think?
I think he liked this movie.
Let me tell you something about Raj. He loves movies like this. Raj says, here's a movie filled with drama and excitement, unfolding a plot of brilliant complexity in which the central character is solemn and silent, saying only what he has to say, revealing himself only strategically. 4 out of 4 stars.
4 out of 4.
I think this was on Raj. I think this was number 6 on his top 10 list at the end of the year.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
He loved it. He loved it. Now, I have recently also learned that Roger loved Crash, the Best Picture winner from, what was it, 2009 or whatever?
Yeah.
So,
He has his tastes.
Janet Maslin had just a really quick review. She said the subject and visual style could not be more forcefully matched. There you go. Good job, Janet.
Yeah.
How did it do at the Oscars? Betsy had no wins or nominations at the Oscars. It was nominated for... it received 2 nominations for Independent Spirit Awards.
Yes. Okay.
One of them was a winner. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but I don't think you're going to be able to guess these because these aren't normal categories.
Okay, what are they? What was it nominated for?
So, it nominated did not win was Giancarlo Esposito for Best Supporting Actor at the Independent Spirit Awards that year. Nominated and did win is your boy Sean Nelson.
Newcomer or something?
Best Debut Performance.
There we go.
There you go.
You want a beer?
Uh-uh.
Well, that's all there is to drink. It's warm, too. Tastes like a tub of piss somebody farted in.
What side you playing?
White, black, both.
You're losing the last 2.
Well, his first game here, I'm playing the Teddy Kolevsky. That's Frank Evans. That's Walter Shipman. Last game here, I'm playing myself.
You're losing to yourself.
Yeah, life's a bitch like that. I kept the game going with myself for the last 20 years. Not a day goes by I don't make at least one move. Not a day.
You're losing to homeboy Shipman, too.
Well, he's a U.S. Grand Master. That's right. He don't go to the park, but he comes here to play me.
He's winning.
Yeah, I know he's winning. But let me tell you something. Put the clock on, put the show on speed, I'll chew his ass right up. See that picture there? That's Pal Benko. That there's Bruce Pandolfini. That's Mikhail Botvinnik. And that's Paul Karras. Played all them boys. Sometimes I won. Mostly I lost. But you put the show on speed, I chew all their asses up. All them grandmasters, them Europeans with their government subsidies and whatnot to sit on their asses and play all day, they ain't living in the world. Put the clock on them. Put the heat on their backs, they break down. Put them in the park fishing for dollars and they break.
What's the lasting legacy of this movie? I mean, gosh, the war on drugs, right? Like, I mean, it's not like I feel like we're living through a new war on drugs period, right? One of the things that the president recently talked about at a joint meeting of Congress was, oh, we need more drug PSAs running on TV.
Right.
So we're back to the whole, this is your brain on drugs. We're back to DARE. We're back to, just say no, I'm sure, right? Like all that stuff from the 80s is now new again. What are we even doing? Like, heroin has now become fentanyl.
Yep.
Like, housing rates are so high, rental rates are so high that people can't afford to live in empty buildings. I don't know. Like, it just feels like we're back to another version of the cycle that this movie has its finger on.
There are moments when this movie could have delved into, like, gotten more issue specific, right? It doesn't really deal with law enforcement particularly. It doesn't really deal, it skirts some of those things, uses them as pawns too, as opposed to talking about mass incarceration or this or that or whatever. None of that is kind of also happening. So you could see moments where it's like, oh, we could have swerved here and gotten into this stuff, but we're not going to do that. We're going to stay over here. So I do find that interesting that it seems so focused. And we have talked about that. This is our first kind of Black cinema, type movie. I mean, this is, and I don't like categorizing it necessarily that way, but that this was written and directed by someone who is not Black.
And would go on, Boaz goes on to do Remember the Titans, which is like one of the great, like Disney, uplifting movies of the early 2000s.
Right. Let's tackle racism this way.
It is fascinating, right? Because there's layers upon layers that go into the war on drugs in America, right? One of the reasons why I was like, oh, this is more of an Omar story than it is like a gangster story, is that Fresh is figuring out a way to survive in the world. Like, it's a given that this is the world he lives in, right? And so the question is, how I have two options. I can make it work for me, or I can, just be another cog in the machine.
Right.
That's around me. And that's what makes me think of it as an Omar story. It's more of a survival / entrepreneurial story of like, if this is what the world is, how do I use my wits to get the most out of it? But there's no sense of like, oh, we're going to clean up the streets and the drugs are going to be gone and we're going to...
This is just the reality of the world.
We're going to raise tariffs against Mexico and now no drugs are going to make it into our country because they have to pay more for our steel. It's like, that's not how the world works.
No.
Like, as much as you want it to work that way, that's not how the world works, right?
Right. Well, and it's also, this is making me want to find somebody's dissertation on these movies of this time, right? And what is, thinking of myself watching this as a young white woman, coming out of, my white flight suburb in Alabama and being in a suburban, situation in a college. And I was seeking diversity and looking for these things. And then these are some of the eye-opening kind of, oh man, some people in the world live this way. And this is kind of their reality. And kind of the choices that were being made on what was being produced in Hollywood at this time.
It's fascinating too, right? Because you're talking about two drugs, especially the crack epidemic. Like that is a drug that is directly going at a certain population in cities. But you could tell a fresh, story,
Right.
A Michael Fresh story,
Right.
in northern Florida with the OxyContin trade
Yes.
amongst suburban teenagers and panhandle white people. You could tell a fresh story with meth addicts and dealers in West Virginia. And that's a very different story, right? But it's the same kind of trade. And it's the same assumption that this is the world that we live in. We live in a world that's taken over by meth. We live in a world that's taken over by prescription drugs. We live in a world that's taken over by crack cocaine, and it's just affecting different elements of the population. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And Michael's story is a story of somebody who feels like they are in a situation where they cannot escape.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and we could place that in, Nazi Germany, you could do, and so then it becomes, what are you going to do? How are the wits that you have going to help you get out of this situation?
Yeah.
When it feels like all doors are closed to you and there's no way out. So then how do you pit people who are also living inside that desperate situation and trying to have power? How do you pit them against one another to your advantage?
How do you play the player and not the board?
Yeah. Yes. Oh, it all comes back to chess.
It just feels really sad, though. I mean, it's just like, I don't know. It is frustrating to me, the incompetence of government responses to these things, and the incompetence it's willful incompetence, because enough people are making gobs of money off of drug sales at corporate levels that it's lip service to, oh, we can make these places better, but we're actually not going to make these places better. We want the Tenderloin to be the Tenderloin in this country. We have committed to it, and we're going to leave it that way because enough people are making money off of it that matter, that if it comes at the cost of these people's lives, so be it.
Well, and that we're not willing to look at how to actually treat addiction in a way that is actually intersectional. And we're not, that's too hard.
Right.
And there's people out there who are doing it, and God bless them. They are doing it. But that, you're also looking at a system of, Aunt Frances, and she's caring for these kids, and she's actually caring for these kids. We've seen other films where it's like the person, if we're going to kind of, all the tropes about, people mooching off the system and all of those sorts of things. And that doesn't seem like what Aunt Frances is up to. There's a Venn diagram that has landed Michael where he is.
All right, let's wrap up.
Okay.
Now that we can't solve the world's problems.
Because we can't.
We can't. It's a big problem. It's a big problem. But it's important for movies like this to address it, at least to look at it honestly.
Yeah.
Who is this movie for, Betsy?
I think again, are we looking at opening up a world and an experience that you don't know? Is this for people who don't live in this world? The only white people in this whole film are the people who buy crack, and maybe that one cop. But other than that,
the one racist cop. Yeah.
The one racist cop keeps referring to monkeys, and it's terrible. But, I think it's also a critical darling. I do think that there's wanting to tell a story like this, and that this being a moment when somebody's going to actually fund you to make it.
Yeah.
And I think it's taking advantage of the films that have gone before it to be able to be made. It's another link in the chain of telling the story of the people trapped in this system.
Yeah, and unlike, other sort of drug/gangster movies, you get the sense that this affects kids, It's well, again, going back to The Wire, it's the argument that Bunny Colvin makes when they go into when the researchers go in to study corner boys at the school and stuff. And he's like, no, you got to start younger. You can't start in high school. These kids have been doing it for 10 years by then.
Yeah. And it's also, I mean, when the girl that he likes is shot, there's no vigil at the school.
Right.
When Chucky dies, there's no counselor in their classroom.
Mm-hmm.
This is another element of life.
Yeah. So in that sense, it stands out from a lot of the early 90s, and that your protagonist is a 12-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just, yeah. So, and could easily have been younger than that. Yeah. I think it's for Gen X kids. It's for, it's for disaffected youth who are like, oh, the world is crazy. You better get yours, kind of thing.
Well, and pulling one over on the system.
Yeah.
Whatever that system may be.
Yeah. Gen X was always labeled as lazy, but it's not lazy. It's nonconformist. And that means that, they just didn't want to do the same jobs as their parents, we just didn't want to do the same things, which sounded lazy to older generations, I think. But Fresh isn't lazy. He's just nonconformist. What is your rating for this movie out of 5?
I'm going to give it a 4.5.
Wow. That puts it all the way at the top of your list.
It does.
Movies from 1994.
What about you?
I am going with a 3.5.
Because of your critique of children actors.
I don't know. I mean, listen, I really like this movie. I think it's very good. For me, personally, it's missing whatever that little thing is. Maybe it's I guess it's the children actors.
You need some more inspirational speeches in your
No,
movie.
it's the children actors. It is. You put your finger on it. That's exactly what it is. I couldn't deal with Chucky much longer.
It was tough. It was tough.
And the dog stuff is tough, man. I mean, there are moments in this movie where I was just like, ugh, I think I'm out for a little bit.
Yeah, the dog fight. I was like, oh, let me fast forward through this just slightly.
Again, they had dog fighting in The Wire too. I'm just saying. Method Man's dog.
Another white man telling black stories. Okay, great. Yep, got it.
Why did the Academy... Wait, no, the Academy didn't nominate this. You nominated it. Why
I nominated this. Yeah, it affected me. And it was a memory that I had from this time. And I wanted to revisit the film and kind of see what that was about it. That when I saw the poster that it was on the list for this year, I was like, oh, definitely, I can't not watch this again.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. What did Emily say about this movie?
I forgot to ask her. So, I mean, my guess is she might not have seen it.
I'm guessing Emily strikes me as a little young for Fresh.
Yes.
This is not an old millennial movie.
No.
This is...
No, it is not. It is not. Even though she gets mad when we call her that. Yeah, no, it's not. I agree with you. I think, she would not have been renting this one from Blockbuster.
No, she's too busy watching The Lion King. Come on.
Yes, come on.
What do you think David Letterman said about this in his Oscars monologue?
Zippo.
So once again, here's yet another Oprah callback from the monologue.
So I was thinking about this earlier this year. Newt Gingrich was talking about how a lot of social problems in this country could be fixed by watching movies, and he recommended that, for example, for some of these problems, we could watch Boys Town, take care of some of those problems by watching the movie Boys Town. And then he said that, maybe we could settle the baseball strike, and he recommended then watching Field of Dreams. And I'm thinking to myself, instead of being Speaker of the House, maybe this guy would be better off working at a Blockbuster, Something to do. Oprah, Uma. Uma, Oprah. It's going to be one of those things I won't be able to stop doing all night long.
All right, that is it. Fresh in the books.
In the books.
Next up, Betsy, we have another tough story of black men coming up here. But this time we're going out to Chicago, and it is a documentary. We're doing Hoop Dreams.
Hoop Dreams.
Is this the first documentary we've done for going on 30?
Yes, I think so.
Wow. How about that?
Is it?
That's amazing. Well, if we had to have an inaugural documentary, this would be the one that I would pick. This is an amazing doc.
It is.
And when you're a college basketball loving kid growing up in North Carolina,
Yes.
Hoop Dreams was like seminal text for me growing
Yes.
up. Loved it.
Yes. Yeah, no, I'm excited to watch it again.
So Hoop Dreams will be our next movie coming up. Betsy, thank you for meeting me at the park today. Do you have time for a quick game of chess?
Only if you've got $20.
We may have to play something else instead.
Well, I can get you to an ATM. Like, I can wait.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Bye.